how do you find a marketing company you can trust?
I wouldn't go with the cheapest. I wouldn't go with the most expensive if it didn't make sense. I would find somebody that relates to my business, knows my business, understands the whole customer journey, the life cycle costs, all of these things.
Welcome to the Home Service Hacks Podcast, the show for contractors who refuse to settle for average. Hosted by Bill Brown, licensed HVAC contractor, AI and automation expert, and founder of Service Titan Hacks Community. Each episode features real conversations with contractors, tech founders, and innovators who are reshaping the trades. From AI and automation to pricing, marketing, and management, if it's working in the field, you'll hear about it here. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Home Service Hacks Podcast. Today I've got Jason Jackson on the show, the founder of Growth Pro Agency, and someone who's been in the trenches as a business owner himself. Jason's here to talk about the hard lessons he learned building his own company and how those mistakes now fuel the systems that he builds for other contractors. We'll dig into what really moves the needle in marketing, why businesses don't need more leads, and how the first 10 seconds of a customer interaction can make or break the sale. So this one's packed with real world advice. Let's jump in. Jason, thanks for joining me.
Hey, Bill, appreciate you having me on, buddy.
Great. So for those who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your background from the contractor to agency owner and what sparked the shift.
Yeah, man. So just like a lot of people, we were fresh out of school and we saw a need. I don't come from the trades. I come from the business side, but my partner comes from the trades, and we saw a need and we started our company and quickly realized that there was a lot more to it on the building side than what we were ready for. And like most contractors, phones were ringing, but it wasn't customers. It was people trying to sell us something. The email inboxes were melting. And honestly, just trusting the wrong people made us shift from, just being an owner to actually learning the marketing side of it and what people actually wanted and what we actually needed. And those very costly mistakes we'll get into really shifted it, that we were able to understand the marketing side, grow our business. And now I kind of have positioned myself in my company where I don't have to be there day to day, and I can help other contractors and business owners do the same.
That's great. It's great to hear. So you said that you help contractors avoid mistakes you made. And I think that's very natural for a coach to do because, man, everybody's made more mistakes than they have had successes. Like the successes are usually pretty big, but the mistakes really stay with you, right?
Yeah.
Because it's that Monday morning quarterback, hindsight's 2020. So can you think about some big mistakes that you made? What were some big ones?
I think the biggest one was, just not having patience. We were always chasing that next, like, oh, this is it. This is it. This is it. Like, this is going to make us rich. This is going to blow our business up. And after 5 of 6 of those of buying leads, trusting every SEO company from cheapest to most expensive, trying to do Facebook ads for something that wasn't really for our niche. We were just trusting what someone's email said. Looking back and really just understanding that it takes time, it takes commitment, and it takes a lot of effort. Like these 7-8 figure home service companies were not built in 6 months. And I think a lot of contractors, they get into the business because they want to make money or they want to be their own boss, but they don't realize the commitment and the actual time it takes to build to that level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you just see the highlight reel online and people don't post their mistakes along with their successes. You just see, oh, this company's got to 20 million, right? And you're like, well, I should be able to do that. What's different about me? This guy doesn't seem like he's much more special than me. I take care of my employees, things like that. And it seems like marketing tends to be the thing that people are extremely impatient with, right? They want to put money out into the market and have it return right away. And I did too, right? So I had an HVAC business for 12 years and I was um, that was a big mistake I made. And I didn't really think about marketing as like an investment. So when you put $100 into the market, you don't get $200 back very often.
No.
It's not consistent. You put it in and you get, if you're happy, you get 10% back and things like that. So with marketing, I feel that I looked at it way too short term, which is the same thing along with you, just being impatient.
100%. And it sucks, but I guess it's the reality of it is, these lead gen companies prey on new business owners because I think they know how vulnerable they are, including us. So the full story on us was, we thought we would come into a market that wasn't saturated and it was just going to take off. And so we did like most people did. We made some Facebook posts, created a Facebook page, grandma shared it, our friends shared it. It was real popular for the first couple of weeks and it fizzled out. And then it was like, wow, now what do we do? And then here came the lead gen companies, hey, we got 30 people looking for your service in your area. We'll set up to you. And I'm like, well, Jake, this is easy. Let's just hire these guys.
Everybody not do this.
Wait, weird. How special are we? And and looking back at it, I'm glad it happened that way. But I was like, what were you thinking? And we do a lot of heavy indoor air quality. So a lot of ERVing, fresh air ventilation, things like that. And it's not very saturated. And when we're pulling up to houses and our competitors are pulling out of the driveway from already giving them a bid, it's like, how'd he know? And it was like, that if they're doing that for our little indoor air quality niche, what are they doing for roofs, HVAC, plumbing? It's 6-7 people in a 10-mile area they're selling these leads to. And it took us about 3 or 4 months, and they got us for about 20 grand, I think, when we were done.
Yeah.
And finally I was like, all right, time out. This ain't it. Reset. I had to block their numbers. We had to cancel our credit card because they wouldn't let us out of contracts that were supposed to be canceled. It was an absolute disaster. And
it is a mess, isn't it? You get so soured by dealing with these companies.
And I feel sorry for them. And
it's dirty.
It is. And if you get on, like, I'm probably like you, I'm in all these home service groups on Facebook. And on a given day, I can probably see 5 to 10 people that have got ripped off. And it's like, no wonder the blue collar industry has their guard up so high and they're scared to invest in this stuff because everybody's got a story like mine. I almost guarantee it. And if they don't, they may be afraid to admit it, but it's literally that bad for these people. And I could probably count on my hand or maybe 2 hands of people that I would say, yeah, you're in good hands. Like, they're a good company. I know them. And I talk to a lot of my competition because it's healthy to be friends with your competition and learn what they're doing. And I really like, of all the people that I know in the industry, there's probably 10 that I would be like, yeah, you're good. Like, stay where you're at. They're a good company. Like, you just need to have some more patience. You're not going to get your return in 2, 3, 4 months. It's going to take time.
Right. And I've always liked it. It took me probably into year 8 or 9 before I met a agency who I had a discovery call with that gave me really reasonable expectations. So most of them would, you'd engage for $6,000 a month, which was a ton of money for my little business at the time. We're going to build your website. We're going to do SEO. And as a former computer programmer, I even was a little skeptical about SEO. And we're going to build a website, SEO, do blog posts, create city pages and everything. And, I'm going to give you $6,000 a month. But the thing that wasn't really talked about is, what do the returns look like on that? How many months do I have to give you $6,000 before things come in? And it was very muddy and unclear. And I didn't even know to ask that question. So my expectations were not aligned at all because obviously I wanted the returns a lot faster than they were going to come. And I think that if I were in the agency's shoes, I probably wouldn't want to say, oh, well, once you're about a year in, you'll start to notice some gains from what we did. Well, it's very easy to go down the street to another marketing agency where they say, no, we're better than these guys. We'll do it in 60 or 90 days. And it's just not true.
No,
it's not true. And And it costs me, I'm not sure where you are at with it, but I'm sure that a lot of other listeners can, that are in the same boat. I've spent millions of dollars in marketing that is a waste. And a lot of it was because of lack of patience, like you said. But the lessons learned from that millions of dollars of mistakes were so valuable. And you do online see that newer startup contractors going down that same path that we went down.
Yeah.
But a lot of them, they'll go out of business because of it.
It will.
This will end their company. And that's really sad to me. Yeah.
No, it's terrible. And that's what almost happened to us. Like, we were at a do or die phase where both of our wives were looking at us and they're like, guys, you're 30,000 in, you're making maybe 10,000 a month here. Like, we're barely paying the bills. Like, maybe this just isn't it. And it was because we trusted all these predators out there. And, luckily I had a little bit of a business sense to me from school and where I came from. I wasn't a tradesman. And so I shifted full time into marketing. I learned SEO, I learned Facebook ads, I learned Google ads, and I learned our website and all this stuff. And it took, even with me doing it, a couple more years of just hard work to be like, oh, we're starting to routinely get organic Google profile calls. We're getting, and that was the thing that finally like switched. And I was like, oh, well then, other people were like, how are you guys doing this? And I'm like, well, it takes a long time to learn this stuff, but it was having patience. And that's the number one thing, like any other agency, we've lost clients. And on the outboarding call, I'm like, what could we have done different? They're like, well, you could have got us more leads quicker. And I'm like, all due fairness, you've been with us for 60 days and the algorithm, we just dialed it in. Like, we just figured out your keywords. We just figured out your competition. We just figured it out. And I 100% respect that. But I said, that was like the 90% of our churn was instant gratification. And we almost wanted to start going to like yearly contracts because of that. Cause I was like, you're going to appreciate me more if you work with me for a year than if you work with me for 3 months, I promise you. But when you're starting out, man, and you're new, or even if you're established and you're that charge is coming out of the account every month, it works on your mind and emotions start playing. And then you make these, quick decisions that aren't well thought out. And then you're right in the same position where you started, and it sucks.
And if this is your last $5,000 that you're paying to an agency, you're pulling the goalie, and you have to land on red. You got to land those sevens. Then you're in trouble there at that point. You might as well go to the casino.
You might as well, man. I mean, literally, you have a 50-50 chance of landing on red or black than you do getting that money back from a Google ad. It's just the reality.
100%.
And
I remember talking to an agency, and we're really diving deep into having reasonable expectations and patience. And I remember talking to an agency, and we were talking about Google ads, which never worked for me in HVAC in Columbus, Ohio. I never was able to justify the ROI on it, but I also never stayed in longer than 6 months either.
Yeah. So
it is what it is. Maybe if I would have stayed in for a year or 2 years, it would have been better. But the first company said, all right, it's going to be $75 cost per lead. And I didn't even know exactly what a lead meant. What is the definition of a lead? So I'm thinking $75 and I'm going to be in a customer's home for that. Yeah. All right. I'll pay $75 all day to get into somebody's house. And then I remember talking to another agency after I went through a couple of them, and they're like, it's going to be more like $275, $300 cost per lead. And I'm like, whoa. That probably is more accurate. Yeah. And in the end, now that changes the whole game. And then educating myself, I understood that a lead isn't necessarily an appointment. You have to convert that lead. And marketing agencies are on the hook for the customer converting that lead. So if we bring a lead, if your company brings a lead to someone and they don't convert it or they don't answer the phone, they go back to you and say, I need more leads, right? So we talk about that myth of needing more leads, right?
Yeah.
And what do you think causes contractors to say, I need more leads, more leads, more leads?
I think it's just that it goes back to that instant gratification. They're living for today and not for tomorrow. And that's why we kind of shifted to a more of a consultant role, because our guys were wanting the phones to ring. And I would go in, we use some software where we track conversations, pickup rates, callbacks, things like that. And they wasn't answering the phones. I'd look at the LSA account, and the Google LSAs would just no answer, no answer, no answer, no answer. And it was quick to realize that you guys don't need more leads. You just need to talk to the ones that are calling you, and or call them back, or nurturing them, right? They talk to them, or they miss their call, and they're like, someone else will call. They don't call them back to check on that estimate they sent a week later. They don't call them in 6 months for a tune-up. They didn't have a service agreement in place to, do routine maintenance, things like that. And so it was quick for us to realize that, yeah, you guys may need some leads, but the ones you have, you're only getting 10% out. Like, the lifetime value of that lead is so small. And a lot of contractors don't think that way, because they're like me and a lot of us when we started, we're just trying to keep food on the table, trying to keep the lights on. And as long as that phone's ringing, hey, life's good. But that's what takes you to that next level, or the big guy in your area that you want to be, is they have a system in place. When that lead comes through, it's followed up with, it's nurtured, it's the review process. They want to make sure the customer's journey is flawless from the time it clicks on the ad to the time they leave. Then they want to make sure that customer re-enters the sales cycle somewhere down the line, so that they can double dip on that customer. And then it's another touch point. They have kids, they have neighbors, they have family members, all that stuff. And you're back in that customer's house in 6 months doing some kind of service. And that's what we had to shift from, just making the phones ring, to helping them actually, get more out of the phones that were ringing.
You talk about that customer lifetime value, and that's something that many, many businesses use, right? Because if you look at a company like a retail company, let's just look at somebody like Walmart. If somebody comes into Walmart and has one transaction and then leaves and never comes back, that's it.
Yeah.
They're looking at this person coming back every week or every 2 weeks. And so they understand, man, I can spend $50 to get a customer, because I know they're going to spend $2,750 a year with me. And then without digging down through all my costs, that's what I can spend is $50. HVAC contractors and home service contractors don't look at that, because when they're calculating their return on ad spend or the lifetime value, they're looking at a very narrow window. So one thing that I did in my company, unfortunately, after like year 11, is I went in and said, all right, when I get a new customer, what are they worth? Because I had years and years of data. What are they worth after the first appointment? And they were worth, on average, it was like $3,000. And that was heavily weighted by system replacements, right? Because we had $15,000 services that we did. Well, what are they worth on the second appointment cumulatively? Well, now it was another 30% above that. So if I looked at that customer in the first 6 months of our lifetime, then it was worth $4,000 or so. And then what about a year and a half? What about 2 years? And I found that 90% of the customer's lifetime value would come within 2 years. So now I was starting to look at customer acquisition cost. How much money did it take for me to get in that home and establish a relationship? And that's a very long-term thinking, because that isn't what puts food on the table tomorrow. If you're desperate and you're near the end of the line and you're out of cash, then what you're hoping is you throw this money into marketing and it returns $15,000 HVAC system replacements. If you get a diagnostic or a capacitor only, then you're like, well, I can't pay my bills with that. Well, yeah, you can, but in 2 years. Yeah. So I was fortunate, before I looked at all that, to be pretty focused on retention. So I did send out emails to customers. I did send out direct mail. We did sell a lot of maintenance agreements. And without doing that, we wouldn't have made it without the maintenance agreements. We wouldn't have, because those people, the people that we got as maintenance members in year 10 or 11 of their system's age, those became future $10,000 bills without any marketing costs, or $10,000 revenue jobs without that. So to have that patience, though, you have to have money and you have to have a plan. You know what I mean? You do. Like,
and it blows me away the amount of people that don't keep track of who they've done work for. So you can go back, even if you don't have a system, right? Even if you don't have a fancy AI system or automations. But if I was down to my last dollar, I would go back to every job I've sold in the last 2 years, and I would call them and try to sell them something. I'd be like, hey, we installed an HVAC unit 2 years ago. Have you had it serviced? Hey, I'm doing a special right now for a $99 tune-up. Can I get you on the list? And I would go through those people. One, they're already warm. They know who you are. Two, they've already given you money, so they have some kind of level of trust with you. And three, it's going to cost me nothing to go through that. And I asked some of my customers, or even my clients, I'm like, hey, so you have like a Excel spreadsheet or a CRM or even your accounting software? Well, yeah, but I don't keep their numbers. I just write their name and address and I just give them an invoice. And I'm like, you guys, like, we could literally touch your whole audience in 30 seconds in 2025. And I could probably book your whole fall in October whenever you're dying for work and it's 60 degrees and the windows are open. We could be doing furnace tune-ups for winter and fill in these schedules, but now we can't because we haven't kept track of anything.
Yeah. There should be, every job needs to have a phone number, an email address, and a actual service address or customer address. So you can do direct mail, email, and either voicemail drops or text messages. What I found near the end of my company is nobody would answer the phone anymore. My customer base was a little younger, about 40 to 50 years of age. If you called them, they wouldn't answer. If you did direct to voicemail, they would call you back. If you texted them, they would text you back. That's a great piece of advice for any contractor. I don't care how you do it. Write this down, put it in an Excel spreadsheet or Google Docs. Google Docs is free. Get every bit of customer information, no matter if they, even if they didn't buy from you, get it, because they found you somehow in the first place. You can go back and still market to them for almost nothing. It's crazy. It's crazy how cheap it is. Do you think that that's the reason why contractors don't reach out to their existing customers, is they don't have the contact information?
I think a lot of it. I get it. Maybe if you've been in business for a long time and, you didn't have an iPhone in your hand, and back in the day it was paper receipts, and I get that. But a lot of these guys that I've seen come into the market in the last 5 years, there's no reason you couldn't keep a spreadsheet a CRM is a staple in almost any successful company now.
Yeah. And they're cheap too.
And they're cheap. It's not like it's thousands of dollars a month. And I don't care if you have Service Titan or you have just a free trial of something. I had a client about a year ago. He was on his last $5,000 and he wanted to do marketing. And I said, hey, you've been in business for 20 years and you're down to your last $5,000. I said, let me ask you, do you have customer information of the last 2 years of all of your clients? And he said, yeah, it's in my CRM at House Call Pro. And I said, perfect. Can you export that to a CSV file and give it to me? We're not going to do nothing but reach out to them. And he was like, well, I don't know about that. I'm like, you got $5,000 to spend. I am not going to go to the casino with your money. I said, give me that list. I'm going to text all of your old clients. We're going to do a database reactivation. I said, we're going to do a $79 furnace tune-up as long as you're good with that. And I said, we're just going to text them and say, hey, winter's coming. We're offering a special to our existing clients. Are you interested? If you are, let us know. We set it all up, linked it into House Call Pro through an API. They could book their service tune-up, all that right there, populated on his calendar. We probably booked 60 furnace tune-ups for October, November, and December without spend that money. And I told him, and he's like, why, man, I didn't think about this. I'm like, you spent so much money to get this list. Why?
All of it.
That guy goes back to that 275 customer acquisition that you talked about. Why would I'm going to get every 275 out of it that I can till there's nothing left. And then I'm going to try selling it to their kids or their grandkids or their neighbors or their family members. Like, I want to stay on top of their head, whether it's a newsletter, whether it's a mail flyer. We do a ton of referral campaigns for our clients around Christmas because everybody needs extra money. Hey, we're giving away $100 Visa gift card. If you refer someone to us and they do an install or a roof or whatever my client has, people will go sell for you to get $100 Visa gift card because it's the holidays and they need Christmas money. You have free salesmen literally working for you for $100. $100 a job. There's just so many things out there that I feel like we don't tap into because we get caught in the hamster wheel of SEO, Google Ads, hamster wheel, SEO, website. And it's like, there are so many old school, I call it the ice cream machine salesman tactic, like the guy that went around to McDonald's and sold the McDonald's ice cream machines. Like, literally.
I'm just hypothesizing here or just speculating, but I've engaged with so many agencies over the years that do not do any sort of retention marketing for their clients. And I think that they're missing a big part here, because if they did that, if they ensure that their clients always got that information, so most clients will let you get into their CRM and look and make sure you're capturing that data. If they went through and the agency helped them maybe get that data from invoices or use their advanced skills they have with AI and knowledge of APIs, they could, and they marketed their existing clients, then they could say, look, we're going to your existing clients first, like you said, and we're going to use the money that we bring in from that to fuel getting new clients. So we get as much as we can out of existing clients. There's a lot of money left on the table from those. We get that, then we can buy new clients with it. And I think that if the agencies bundled themselves together with both of those things, they would be able to keep clients longer term, because ultimately for me, when my bank account started to get low is when I try to look at my P&L every 3 months in detail and say, all right, is this particular expense, can it be lowered? Is it bringing a return on investment? Is it making my employees happy, or is it just making me happy? And if you sort your expenses, marketing is always up there. It's up there with labor. And if we're looking at overhead, it's up there with labor. But one question that you have is, all right, I look at this labor and I have this office staff to want to get rid of one of these people. No, that's a much more difficult decision. So marketing's up there and you're like, well, what have I really got from it? If it was great, my business wouldn't be where it is today. And so if a marketing agency doesn't have kind of all of the options that they can give you for marketing, and they just say, all we do is SEO and pay-per-click, well, now you're going to need another agency, because you have to have all of the right options for you. So, I've learned a lot over the years. And like you said, you spend a lot of time educating yourself on this. Can a contractor really be successful if they don't understand lead generation and customer life cycle? If they don't dig into that and understand all those metrics and create a customer journey, or at least find the right marketing agency, but still educate themselves. I've never seen any contractors who grow monster and go, yeah, we just get leads at such a mountain. That's it.
Yeah. I think they could be successful. I just don't know how successful, right? How much are you going to be able to scale? Because it's just going to be that hamster wheel effect, money coming in, money going out. Knowing that you have just a database of people that want to give you money or have given you money is the most powerful thing any business owner can have. And that's why we made that shift to more of like a chief operations partner approach, was because I can make your phones ring. It's going to cost money. But if we can go in, look at what you're doing, and there's so many dang softwares out there right now, and everybody I got this, I've got that. And we can go in and really see what you have and start carving things out. We almost pay for ourselves in tech stack costs by cutting the fat and being like, hey, here's what you need. Now go execute on it. Being able just to make their phones ring or touch their customers, because everybody's busy. They don't have the staff. They don't have the money for staff. And with technology, being able to mass text and mass email and ringless voicemail and all this stuff, working with an agency that understands a more holistic long-term picture instead of, like a drug dealer approach, chasing that quick fix, starting out, just our biggest thing is keep track of everybody's information and just seriously be careful who you give your money to. You work hard for it. Just if it sounds too good to be true, Jason and Bill would have already used it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. All you got to do is shoot me a message on Facebook, shoot you a message on Facebook, and I'll tell you how much I lost on that marketing campaign. And I'll tell you how I would have done it differently too. So one of the things that I found was, so we talk about those lead generation companies, and one of them that's the biggest is obviously Angie's List / Home Advisor. Angie, bought Home Advisor. I remember when they used to be Service Magic, man. Mm-hmm. That's how old I get on that. What I found was, you pay $25 to $35 per quote unquote lead for a repair or a maintenance. And you pay 5 times that for a system replacement. And we had very granular data. So we looked and found that after, we had 30 system replacement leads that we bought, only one of them closed, and it wasn't worth it. And not only did they not close, they didn't close a year down the road. So even though we kept reaching out to them, they didn't close. And so that money that we spent was just gone. So I don't know, maybe it was a competitor, maybe they bought from a competitor. Oh, by the way, if you want to know if they bought from a competitor, there is information you can get for that. I think that's important to know if they bought from someone else. But we found that the repair leads didn't convert to technician turnovers and systems as fast as they did in retail leads or in leads we got like Google Local Services or SEO. So we'd look at it and say, oh man, we got all these repair leads, and man, out of all of those leads in the first 6 months, we only got one system replacement and our marketing cost is 30% of revenue. This is terrible. And we cut it off. Well, I looked back years down the road and said, you know what? Let me attribute the original campaign, the original way that we got the customer to revenue, and then go back and look and say, oh, well, these Angie leads did turn into systems because we followed up with customers. It just took longer than it did with organic leads. And so Angie's actually ended up working out correctly, but we wouldn't have known that for years till after we did it. It's wild.
It is. And the biggest thing is you got to think about this. When that phone rings, they charge you. And a lot of these guys that are opting into platforms like Angie and Home Advisor don't have secretaries. They don't have CSRs. They don't have anything. And so they're on a roof. They're in a crawl space. They're in a basement. They're customer facing. They can't stop the conversation. And if that phone rings and you answer it and you're not prepared to service that customer, you're getting charged. They're not giving you credit back. It's over.
And that lead's probably gone forever, right?
It is. It is.
So, but they're still burning those leads, right? They're still setting $300 on fire while they're on a roof, because that speed to lead really is a real thing. And every marketing agency says it. But it's true, right? Even though we have these marketing agencies that we talk about that are predatory and you feel take all of your money, and some of them do, speed to lead is no joke. And put yourself in the customer's shoes. If you happen to reach out on Angie's, it's not like you're cheap. Angie's has massive pull and massive market and SEO push. And you reach out to that, whoever answers the phone with a friendly voice is going to get that job. And if it happens to be an HVAC system repair, I don't care how much you follow up with me tomorrow. it's already been repaired. It's over, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
no joke on speed to lead, guys.
no, I mean, especially in HVAC. I mean, when someone
Mhm.
calls for an HVAC, they're not calling because their HVAC's getting old 90% of the
Right.
time. They're calling because they got 3 kids. It's 105 degrees. It's 4th of July, and their air conditioner's out, and their kids are crying, and they need it fixed yesterday. And
Mhm.
if you don't answer that phone, you don't call them back, you're busy, whatever it may be, it's gone. And that customer may be gone forever because the company that does answer the phone may have a system in place that keeps it in that pipeline forever.
Right.
So you literally just lost a lifetime of work by not answering the cell phone.
It could have been $20,000 that you lost.
Could have been very easily.
Could have been. Yeah.
Could,
And
yeah.
what would you, with the $20,000, if you're doing everything else right, there's your future marketing dollars right there. So you're not to your last 5,000. So, man, the theme of this podcast has really been stepping back, having a customer journey, not just not just answering the phone, but looking at it and maximizing that lifetime value and being patient for it to bear fruit. I think that a lot of these companies who don't have those processes, if they get a lead and it turns into a big ticket, it's mostly luck that happened, not by design, right? So,
and
so you go ahead.
Let's think real quick before we move on. I want to talk about the lead list we were just talking about. And you and me both know how much private equity is coming into play right now in the trades market. And a lot of these guys are, the guy I told you about that we did out in Utah, he was in his 50s looking to exit soon. And his lead list, it just makes your exit value that much more. If you have 300 service contracts, if you have a lead list that you can sell to, all this stuff, I see it every day. Hey, how do I sell to private equity? How do I do this? It's no joke what's going on. But if you want to make your exit that much more valuable, having these systems in place and being able to show them quickly how efficient, how much money you make in your customer base, it's only going to make you that much more money, even at the end when you sell, retire, whatever it may be. So it's not just money now, it's money later, and your kids' money later, college money later. Like, it is such a compound effect on your customer base of keeping that database clean and accurate.
There's a lot of crap talked about with private equity, mostly on their business practices and how they treat employees and everything. But I'll tell you one thing, these guys know their numbers. They know how to analyze the numbers. They know how to gather data. They're not even in the shop. They're, in New York City, and they know that existing customer is infinitely cheaper than a new customer. Plus, you can market to them all year. New customers are only in the market during busy season. Yeah. Like, nobody's going to Google and searching for HVAC at least in Ohio, in September. They're not. Right? So private equity, they're going to value that because that's what they've done. They look at what kind of things can I pull the trigger on in this business that maximize ROI. And it's buying equipment for less cost than you would buy because they have more buying power. That puts a couple % to the bottom line right away. It's optimizing operations with, consolidating employees. But a lot of it is on that marketing side. They're not just going to, even though they can and they do, they're not just going to go in and say, all right, my strategy is to pay infinite amount of money to acquire new customers.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't they just start a business from scratch if that's what they were going to do?
Yeah.
Right? They buy existing business. Yeah.
They go spend 20, 30K a month on Google ads if they wanted to start from scratch. And, that's what their plan was. They run a lean operation and they're going to get every ounce of dollar out of that company before they reinvest in the new.
And that's a lesson to be learned from an existing business owner. Even if you were a technician turned operator turned owner, you should be doing the same type of things that they do. That doesn't mean that you have to do the things that you feel that are negative that they do. You can still take care of your employees. You can still have that family-like atmosphere, but there's a lot of lessons learned from business owners. And most of us didn't start out like that. I wasn't a good business owner when I started. I was a technician who liked serving customers. What does that have to do with how to take a lead all the way through the customer life cycle? Not a lot. I was fortunate to always get that customer information though. And if I didn't get it, that would be tough, man. I'll tell you, that would be brutal.
Very tough.
I don't know. I wouldn't know what to do. I mean, if you have a customer come to you that doesn't have that lead list, what can you actually do for them?
Nothing in the future. You just hope they remember you, or you hope they find you. And you're just kind of, I know we relate to casino a lot in this, but really you're just betting on them to come back and use you again. And the chances are that an emergency, they're going to find the first person that pops up, or who left a magnet on their new fuse panel, or their new, air handler, or whatever it may be. And that's who they're calling at the time, especially in the trades. When action strikes, they're going to find the quickest way to make the pain stop. And they're probably not going to dig around for your invoice that you left them 3 years ago.
There's no way that's gone. It might have even been emailed, and good luck finding anything in your email, right?
Yeah.
It's been a great conversation, but we've been thinking long-term for these business owners, because that's what business is. That's what investing is. It's really long-term. You might have some short-term wins, but people that really make it long-term. What do you think the most overhyped marketing tool is right now in there?
Man, I think just because I get hit up with it every day, I think it's the putting AI in front of SEO.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of that stuff. And I've seen a lot that says AI can do your SEO. That's one thing I see. The other thing I see is be optimized for ChatGPT search.
Yeah.
Right. I see that too. So are we even far enough down the path of knowledge to know if that's a good investment at this point?
I don't think so. I think it goes back to one of them money grabs. They're just trying to they're trying to get somebody on there because they know like a good SEO firm's about $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And they know if they can come in at $500 a month, they're going to peak interest on cost. And then AI is just the trending keyword right now everywhere. And so if they think that they're the latest and greatest tool in the market and they can cut $1,000, they're just gambling on it if it's going to work or not. And I actually did a demo last week on one because I wanted to see. I'm like, I've been doing SEO for 10 years now. I want to see what it was. Just another plugin on a WordPress that was doing the same thing that we were already doing, but it was just a little bit of like content writing that maybe takes my team 5 to 10 minutes to do. And I called him out on the demo and he's like, well, I get it. We're competitors. And I'm like, kind of, but you're kind of misleading here. You're using AI just to kind of like build content here. It's not really doing anything superpower here. And you're basically just charging lower margins than guys that are doing proper SEO. But I get 5 to 6 a week of cold calls and emails and Facebook messages. And it's some fancy AI tool that's going to blow my business up. And I had to finally do a demo because I wanted to see just how magical it was. And that's the stuff. It's just predatory.
Tech bros coming in, right? 22-year-olds that don't understand the customer life cycle, don't understand our business, don't understand lead generation and ROAS, and they're just coming in. I like ROAS.
I love it.
ROAS. That's just straight ROAS right there. But a lot of these companies who are spending the $1,500 on SEO, I think that if you're well positioned, if you're a great operator and you have the cash, aka the profit, you can spend $500 trying out a new tool, but you don't take away the $1,500 that got you there in the first place, if that makes sense. So, I talked to a lot of contractors who were like, well, with marketing, you should test this, you should test that. Well, that means that you have a lot of things that are working well that you can add on these tests for. And if you're to the point where all you're doing is testing, you're in trouble.
Yeah. No, 100%. And that's just the biggest thing right now is, trust who you talk to, give your money to the right people, and do your own part of the bargain, right? That's the thing.
Mhm.
These marketing agencies aren't going to fix all your problems. They're not going to do all the work for you. They're going to position you to be successful, but you've got to finish it off. You've got to sell it. You've got to
Mhm.
fulfill it, and you've got to do your job as a business owner to position yourself to do all those things.
How do you find a marketing company you can trust? What is the process for that? I mean, gosh, man. And can it be referrals from people? I mean, what would you do if you were going out searching for a marketing company today?
Honestly, man, finding people that are on podcasts like right now, guys who
Mhm.
are putting their vulnerability on social media, whether that be with content, whether that be with podcasts, whether that be with blogs, and people that are putting their life, their face, and they're consistent. And that's easy to tell that someone is not only committed, but they're easy to
Mhm.
find. You know who they are. You can find a lot of data on them. The people that are trying to sell you this $99 a month Facebook ads or whatever it may be, you can't
Mhm.
find them anywhere.
Right.
And you can't find
Yeah.
the guys who are selling leads on these Facebook groups. If you go and look for them, half the time it's a fake profile. They're from another country and they're using another fake profile because they don't want their
Mhm.
identity known. Find the guys that are putting their self out in the open. Find the guys that are being vulnerable enough to tell their story, good,
Mhm.
bad, ugly. Those are the guys you want to work with. They're going to cost you a little more, but
Yeah.
they know their stuff, man, and they're easy to find, and you are going to get the results from it.
Mhm.
So, if I was starting out and if I had to do this over again, I would wait till I was in a position to heavily invest in marketing, and I would do it right again. I wouldn't go with the cheapest. I wouldn't go
Mhm.
with the most expensive if it didn't make sense. I would find somebody that relates to my business, knows my business, understands like what we've talked about, the whole customer journey, the life cycle costs, all of these things. And if it's too good to be true, it's probably too good to be true. Let's just be honest.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's great advice because finding the right marketing agency is extremely important, and educating yourself on the fundamentals of marketing is very important. One of the things that I like that I've found, because Service Titan Hacks, we have sponsors in our group. So what I did a few months ago is one of the things I really like to do is I like to find love to find solutions for my own business. So every CRM, every add-on, every tool, every physical tool, I wanted to try everything and find out what provided the best return. And so when I sold my company, I want to do that for other contractors. So we have we have a sponsor named Volca that just does referrals. That's all they do. They have a automated system that does referrals. It's very simple. But what I liked about it is the owners of the company are from the home service space. So I found that if the owners are from the space and had the experience of what not to do, they tend to be a little bit better on what to do. They can set expectations a little bit better. And what I've found is all of the people that are sponsors, like, so I'll do a demo with them. Like, so, Volca come in and I'll find out who all their competitors are, and I'll do demos with all of them because I'm really good at understanding whether or not this person's full of shit or if they know what they're talking about. And the ones who really know what they're talking about have leadership that have been in the space that they're serving.
Yeah.
That's really a big difference. So, who are these people? Anybody can put the name digital marketing agency on them. Anybody can put AI on them. It's so overhyped that you have to look and dig into who these people really are and look at contracts and things like that. And, if they set your expectations right, then most likely this will be a good relationship. And think long-term with your agency too.
Yeah.
Don't think, don't say, I'm going to give these guys 2 months to perform. Now, if they don't if they don't do the deliverables that they say they're going to do, like I've had ones that said they're going to do a monthly call and they don't even do it.
Yeah.
That's different. Like you're not even doing the monthly call with me. They say they're going to do 2 blog posts, whatever strategy they have. They need to at least do exactly what they say they're going to do. All the way the results at the end, that might not be measurable day one. It isn't, but you can find out if they're going to do what they say they're going to do pretty quickly. Right.
Yeah. And I'll tell you, another good key indicator is if you see them doing content with their clients. I think that's huge. We've got some companies that we've filmed like day in the life videos with, or just in person. If I'm comfortable enough coming to you and sitting down with you face to face, I'm probably a pretty good company to work with. And there's a couple out there.
Yeah.
And you've probably seen them too. They go and they film on roofs with people. They go and film, what testimonial videos in person, because they've basically implemented themselves into their client's business, and they're basically like a teammate. And if guys are comfortable enough and committed to doing that, they're going to be committed to growing your business.
Yeah, I really like that. That's another big thing to have on the checklist. And if you can't afford those people yet, then you probably would be better off not going with the $99 a month one and spending that money educating yourself. One of the things that I really liked was that when I reached out to agencies that I couldn't afford, some of them said, "Hey man, you can't afford me, but here's what you should do." One agency told me my website was on 1-in-1 when I first started, maybe because they had a deal. They said, "Here's what you should do. You should move your website over to WordPress. I know your skills after talking to you. You can easily do it yourself. Own the domain name and do this. Get Google reviews." And they did some things that were guerrilla marketing tactics that were for people that had more time than they had money. As, typically you have one or the other. And at the beginning of a company, you have time. So invest your time wisely, and education is a great way to invest your time. Listen to podcasts, read books on marketing, and understand marketing, because it's one of the top core competencies that you have to grow a business.
It is.
And you shouldn't, in my opinion, outsource all of that. You need to be able to talk the talk with the marketing companies.
No, the first thing we did was I asked my partner for permission, and I said, "Hey, I need to get $2,000. I'm going to go to Florida. I'm going to sit in a 4-day mastermind with some people with a marketing company that was holding a mastermind." And I'll never forget it. I sat in a hotel room in Fort Lauderdale, Florida with like 20 other, there was fencing owners, plumbers, electricians in there. And we were all just absorbing Facebook ads, Google ads, website, where a contact form should be, where a call button should be. It's all psychology, things that I would never think of as a business owner. And that was the first step, was just admitting I knew nothing, went and learned it all, and then came back and was like, okay, now we have to implement. And I sat down and we started building things out piece by piece. And once you started going, it made so much sense why a contact form should be there, or why your logo should look this way, and why your colors should be this way, and why they should be able to call you like every scroll on your website. And so it was things like that. And that's what got me going. And so what I've actually done is, about 2 weeks ago, I got into school. I don't know if you played around with school yet, but I created a school community, and we've just launched it last week. There's only like 16 members in it, but inside that school community, I've got videos on how to launch your first Facebook ad campaign, how to launch your Google ad campaign, how to sell. What is SEO? What is automations? What is QuickBooks? How to keep your books in order, things like that. And it doesn't cost, it's free. I've built all this out because I wish there would have been a lifeline whenever we were 30,000 in the hole and we didn't know what to do. And so I've built this out, and I'm pushing it out right now to everybody, and it doesn't cost me anything. But my hopes is that you grow your business to a spot where you can afford my services. And then you come to me and you're like, "Hey, Jason, we're doing 100,000 a month now. And what now?" Obviously,
right.
Google ads isn't it no more. What now? And then I've built a client, right, for my time. And so it's not really about them being a client, because I guarantee you I may get 1 or 2 clients out of the whole school community, but it's about just being able to collaborate. I do a weekly call on Thursday nights where I'll go over your website and just tell you, hey man, do this, do that, do this. So a lot of these guys are building them, or their wives or their kids are building them. And I just trying to give back, because whenever I was starting this whole journey, there wasn't a lot out there. And so that we didn't have school. We barely had Facebook groups back then. And so it's like, I'm just trying to give back to all these guys, because I see how predatory it is. And I've been down that path. And if I can save 1 or 2 people from buying leads, then I've done my job.
I wonder if that's great. That's great to hear. And I'll drop that link to your school community everywhere that this podcast is shown, so people can educate themselves. I wonder how many good marketing agencies there are out there that also, I wonder how many bad ones provide a lot of free content and education to the consumers. I doubt it, right? So if you're a guy who's a fly by night and all you want to do is make a quick buck, you're probably not going to sit down and put together free education. That's a great thing about the marketing, about the agency world, is because they are content creators and they understand websites and they have dedicated copywriters, they can provide you with a ton of free stuff today to learn this skill set. Because that's what it is. It's a very different skill than what you have as a technician, but it can be learned. It can be learned. I did. I wish I could have done it cheaper though. Holy crap.
Well, yeah, I wish if I could start over, I'd be in a whole different conversation with you, but but it's good. It made us tough. Do we regret it a little bit, but we learned a lot from the journey. And we don't get into business because it's easy. We get into business because it's rewarding, and it's a risk, and it's always going to be a gamble, and it's not going to be easy. But surrounding yourself, and your community is great for that. Like surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded, trying to solve problems, people that are just stuck on one little thing in Service Titan, and they can ask a question and get 30 responses. Like that didn't exist, and having the, private chat channels and things like that. It helps everybody just be that much better. And if we can give back just a little bit, you'd be surprised how many people really benefit from, I film all this content and I just think to myself, like, is it really going anywhere? And then I'll get a message from somebody and they're like, oh man, I use Chat GPT to do our 10 Facebook posts this week as your YouTube video. And I'm like, okay, all right. So
there we go.
Someone's watching you. All right.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing, man, is like, you're right. The fly by night people, they're not putting out content. They're not holding free webinars. They're not holding master classes. They're not holding this stuff. They're just trying to promise you the world and deliver nothing.
Yeah. And you see that, and be careful of it, guys. And don't be careful of it after you've bought so much of it that your business is in dire straits. Yeah. Don't be like me.
Yeah. Yeah, let me tell you all about it.
I don't want to look. I could go back and look at all my QuickBooks and look at all the line items for marketing and go, oh, shouldn't have done it at all. Should have done it longer. It's one of those, right? None of them are, you either need to put more into it or less into it. So you have this 60-minute marketing audit that you give away. Can you tell me a little bit about that? What's it include?
Yeah, man. So everybody that joins our school community, I give them 2 options. I can help them set up a Facebook campaign, or we do a 60-minute marketing audit with me or one of my teammates. And we just look at their stuff, right? If you're using software, if you're using any of this stuff and you're just thinking, hey, I'm paying, we just started working with a roofing company down in Florida. He's a really successful roofing company. He does about 10 million a year in roofs. And he had like 7 conversation softwares for texting, email, all this stuff. And I went in and I was like, why? Well, my old company told me to do this. I didn't do that. He didn't have access to any of his websites. He didn't have access to any of his ad accounts. I helped him go in, be able to delete old people off of stuff and just get him lined out. And then he ended up becoming a customer because he was just like, for once in my business, I have ownership of my business, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. Yeah.
It does, because he's had so many people's hands in his business. And, this guy said he needed this, but he never canceled that because he was scared. And that company didn't know how to transfer that workflow over to this workflow. And he didn't want his leads to get dropped. And so we're getting ready to launch it next week, but we've built an AI voice and chat platform. And he was one of probably my fifth customer on it. And I went in and we built everything that he had out inside of our stuff from hand. We built all the messaging out, all the AI out, the voice calls, all that stuff out. And he's like, well, now what? I go, well, you can cancel that $1,900 in subscriptions. And he was like, what? I'm like, no, you don't need this. And that was from a free audit, right? And now he's a client of mine. And basically I cut $1,900 where he puts it back into his ad spend from just stacks. And that's just knowledge and not understanding what's going on. Like, you're in the field, you're in the business, and you think you need something. But in today's world, there's so many universal softwares that you don't need 5 or 6 tech stacks. You need one main solid program like Service Titan and things like that, where you can send automations and service agreements and all this stuff from one platform. You don't need 6 different subscriptions anymore.
And the less platforms that you have, the more consolidated it is, the more accurate the data is going to be, the easier it's going to be to work. And that's I've had the same thing, especially as being a computer programmer. I can't tell you how many pieces of software I had all working together, but yet not working together, right? They were just a lot of distractions, right? So that's great information. Would you say that the best way to reach out to you would be through that school platform?
Hey, you can reach out to school. You can follow me on Instagram. It's JasonJackson_01. On all I do TikTok, I got Instagram, YouTube, school. I'm really active on Facebook. I'm in a lot of groups and things like that, just trying to save people from buying leads one day at a time.
That's great, man. So Jason, thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate you having me on.
All right, man. Great.
Thanks for listening to the Home Service Hacks podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss a future episode. For more information or to connect with Bill, you can check us out on Facebook at Service Titan Hacks or visit our website at servicetitanhacks.com. We'll see you next time.